95.9 FM. I'm Trey Modlin, filling in for Rachel Hill today, First Lady of Sports, as she is on assignment today. Joining me online is Willie Epteen Jr. How are we doing today?
Cleveland! Rachel, Trey, what's going on, buddy?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just letting everybody know Marshawn Powers is running a little bit late, got stuck in traffic. There was an accident on the way here. So if you're listening, please be safe. Please drive here safely. We want to see you make it in one piece. So plus it's raining here today. That may have contributed to the accident. Now, before we get into this, would today be him in the huddle?
Like, I think we could get away with that. I was thinking more like we in the huddle.
We in the huddle.
This is going to be three of us.
Right.
Definitely not her in the huddle.
Well, got to give it the credit. But there was that show on ESPN called His and Hers with Michael Smith and Jamel Hill way back when. So whenever somebody would fill in for Mike, it would still have the official title name, but they just playfully call it hers and hers, I guess. Or if somebody subbed in for Jamel Hill, him and him, or his and his. So I guess we could get away with that.
Or it could be like that old song by that old group M2Me, You, Me, and He.
You, me, he. I like it. But hey, we're going to actually. I saw Marshawn walking in, so he should be here momentarily with us. We're going to talk about some Browns and give our predictions for Sunday's game against the Chicago Bears. We'll also discuss Ohio State Buckeyes football and talk and lines and spreads for Saturday's game. Direction that which we're going in sports media. We'll get into that a little bit later. And so Ohio State plays the Akron Zips on Saturday. And then in the NBA, 76ers star Ben Simmons wants out. But will he land with the Cavs? And where does the Cleveland baseball team go from here? But first on our agenda, we got breaking news today out of Chicago that quarterback Justin Fields, will start Sunday's game against the Cleveland Browns right here at First Energy Stadium. He came into relief last week for Andy Dalton, who suffered a knee injury, went 6 for 11 through an interception, but the Bears still got the victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Bears are going to be coming in at 1-1. And the first question we have on the agenda is, what were yours guys' reactions to the Bears naming Justin Fields a starter? So who wants to start?
I'll let Marshawn go first.
First off, how are you doing today? Yeah, I'm glad you're able to make it.
Yeah, man, it's raining pretty hard here.
Yeah.
I got stuck in a little traffic on the way. People don't know how to drive, but yeah. I made it, so that's neither here nor there. But as far as Justin Fields, I'm excited. There's a lot of fans out there today that this probably was the worst news for them because they felt like, Andy Dalton is the easier quarterback for us to beat. But in my opinion, if the Browns want to be great, you gotta go up against tough tasks. I think right now Chicago is probably starting to think about turning the Rams over to Justin Fields, even though Matt Nagy said this is still Andy Dalton's team. But I'm excited, from a Buckeye fan.
That's right.
Just a football fan in general. I think Justin Fields starting for the Chicago Bears brings an extra boost to that team. That team already really wasn't behind Andy Dalton like everybody, like the media has put out to the scene. And whenever Justin Fields come in, you feel a different energy from the fans, from the other players, how they respond to him. So I'm looking forward to a good game, man. I got a few guys, Allen Robinson on my team, on my fantasy team.
So do I.
Man, it's gonna be. I'm looking forward to a tough task from the Bears against the Browns.
Yeah,
I think this one is gonna be one of our toughest games out of this next year.
It very well could be. By the way, I have Allen Robinson in my main league as well, facing David Montgomery. So, Willie, what was your reaction to the news?
About time. It's about time. It's past. It's when they traded when they signed Andy in the offseason from the Dallas Cowboys, and Nagy came out and said at that point he was going to be QB1. Even before he drafted Justin Fields, I was like, yo, did you not see what Andy Dalton did in Dallas last year? Did you not review the tape before you guys decided to sign him to a 1 year, $13 million deal?
Something like that.
But not only that, man, you hate to see people go out, or you hate to see people have to step in because somebody else got injured. And they always say, or they've said, that you can't lose your job due to injury. Well, ask Tony Romo about that.
Mm-hmm.
ask Drew Bledsoe about that, because the same thing that happened to Drew Bledsoe here in Dallas happened the same way to Tony Romo here in Dallas. But in terms of Justin Fields, man, I think that the most popular person in a locker room is the backup quarterback until he's not. But obviously, I mean, everybody knows that Justin gives them the better chance to win. And I'm a Michigan fan, so I kind of don't even like Justin Fields for he played for Ohio State and helped further the destruction of the rivalry. But yeah, man, I think it's great for him. I think it's great for the team. And more importantly, I think it's great for that city and for that fan base that they've done this. Not like they really had a choice. They weren't going to go to Nick Foles, I don't think. So yeah, it's all good for Justin and the Bears, and y'all Browns better watch out, man, because it could be very interesting there by the lake.
Yeah, let me give you some connections here. So the Browns are going to play the Bears week 3 against Justin Fields, Ohio State quarterback. Last year, they played the Washington football team, Dwayne Haskins, Ohio State quarterback. Interesting connection. Washington football team last year, and to an extent this year, dominant defense. So we think Chicago Bears, dominant defense. Maybe not what it was in 2018, but Khalil Mack is still scary back there, and he's still going to be causing pressure. And we're going to talk about the receivers as well in a little bit, but you know, there's going to be a lot of responsibilities on the running backs as well, having to try to block him, especially since Jedrick Wills is hobbled around. I think he's going to play, but we're not quite sure. Also, you touched on injuries, on the idea that you can't lose your job because of injury. Tyrod Taylor in his last 3 stops, just lost his job to injury. Here, Baker Mayfield took his job because of his injury on that Thursday Night Football game against the Jets. Last year, the Chargers, a doctor punctured his lung. Here comes Justin Herbert. Both quarterbacks set the rookie touchdown record for their seasons. And now Houston, he's out. They're going to lose to the Panthers tomorrow night. So David Mills is going to be their guy in Houston. Is it for who knows how long? And the other examples you gave as well, Drew Bledsoe, Tony Romo. So it's all relevant. But as far as what the news means for Chicago, you don't trade from 20 to number 11 if you don't believe in the guy. Chicago, who's has there ever been their franchise quarterback in their team's history?
I was going to say that's the only one.
Okay, so Jim McMahon. Yeah. All right. But it's one. There's your list. But still, this is great for the Bears, and the fact that he's going to make his first career start in Cleveland, where there's going to be a lot of Ohio State fans, that's going to be that's going to be something. But now, what do you think the Browns should do to game plan for Justin Fields, a mobile quarterback who can really make plays with his legs and with his arms?
Right. That's the only thing that can do right now is pray. Pray that you have the linebackers that can stop this. You got the corners, you got the D line, you just don't have the linebackers to stop them. So right now, I think the defensive coordinator who everybody in the city want to run out of here. I think honestly, just game plan on, containing Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a good runner. He's a good passer. He's a dual-threat quarterback. I think in the next couple of years, he's going to be one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks out there. But, it's trying to create a game plan on shutting down Justin Fields is going to be impossible. But I just think they need to just contain him right now. That's
very possible. What do you think, Willie?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. You guys do have some injuries that you have to be concerned about, particularly with the linebacking core in JOK. He's questionable. Is it for sure that he's going to play, or is he not going to play? Do we know yet? He is going to play. And Taki, he's also banged up a little bit as well. Is it correct?
He's going to miss a few weeks. He had knee injury.
Okay, so that's big in itself. But I think in terms of what to do in answering your question, I think they have to pretty much stay in their rush lanes and not let him get outside the pocket. I was a coach, Pop Warner coach in Dallas for about 4 years. And something that our defensive line coaches would always tell our kids is to make the L, make the L, make the L. And Myles Garrett and Clowney, they're gonna have to make the L to keep him inside the pocket. Make Justin Fields beat you from inside the pocket. Now it's not like the Bears have speed burners on the outside. I mean, Allen Robinson, he's a good receiver. I wouldn't call him great. He's definitely not a burner. Cole Kmet is a very serviceable tight end, probably one of the top 15 in the league, but they don't have anybody on offense that just really scares you. So I'm not saying they should put a spy on him, but definitely do what they can to keep him inside that pocket.
Yeah, and to the point about the Bears' weapons, it's really Allen Robinson, David Montgomery out the backfield, Cole Kmet, who they took in the second round last year, are the real guys that can scare you. But my concern for the Browns is week one, if you want to chalk it up to the Browns giving up a bunch of yards to Patrick Mahomes, fine. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. But it seems that the opponent's number one receiver just has gone off the past 2 weeks. Tyreek Hill, 10 catches, 170-something yards against the Browns. I may be inflating that, but the point is, he really dominated that game. Last week, while Tyrod Taylor was in the first half, Brandon Cooks had 4 catches, and each time they targeted Denzel Ward. That's supposed to be the number one corner for the Browns, who's at least been here the longest, and he's looking for a contract. So it won't matter. I don't think it'll really matter so much if how skilled or what tier receiver that the Bears have. If the Browns keep giving up these broken plays, it seems like a lot of times just watching these guys just keep getting wide open, in part because on the season the Browns have a total of 3 sacks. Again, I know Patrick Mahomes is mobile, Tyrod Taylor is mobile, but that's a little bit concerning with all the big names. And I knew they were going to start 1-1 because of the fact that there are 7 new starters on defense. It's going to take time to gel. There is no quick fix, but these next 3 weeks are really going to be telling about. I know we're not getting to the Vikings game or the Chargers game or the Cardinals game just yet, but it really does start with this one to see where they go, how they defend Justin Fields. But I think that's a good spot to take our first break. And when we come back, we need to talk about the Browns' own injuries because Jarvis Landry is going to be out for a couple of weeks. Odell Beckham, we have audio from Kevin Stefanski talking about how Odell has been doing in practice this week and what we can expect from him. So stay tuned here at WOVU 95.9 FM. If you haven't already, go ahead and download our free mobile app. It's free and easy. You can take it on the go, so you don't just have to be in the Cleveland area to listen. You can also stream online at WOVU.org. That's WOVU.org. Check us out. Tell your friends, tell your family, and we will be right back after these words from our studio.
The City Club of Cleveland presents a conversation with Timothy L. Trample Sr., the president and CEO of the St. Luke Foundation, Friday, October 1st from noon to 1:30 p.m.
Oh, that's a tough.
Yeah, so the Browns beat the Titans, the Colts, and the Steelers, all with winning records. So the question is, how many teams in the National Football League had more such wins against teams with winning records?
I'm gonna go with 5.
All right, you say 5. Marshawn says 5. How many do you think, Willie?
I need you to repeat the question.
That's all right. Yeah. So last season, the Browns had 3 wins against teams with winning records, so above 500. How many teams in the National Football League had more such wins?
I'm gonna say the Chiefs.
Yeah, they are one of them.
They're one of these. So you said how many teams total?
Yeah,
I'll say 6.
6. Okay, Marshawn said 6. Willie says 5. The correct answer is 3. Yeah, the Chiefs, Bills, and Steelers each had 5 wins against winning records, teams with winning records. The Titans, Ravens, Browns, and Raiders each had 3. Nobody else in the National Football League had more than 2. So, fun fact there. So for people railing on the Browns' schedule last year, it's not. It's actually a lot more than your team, most likely. So
They were all AFC teams.
Yeah,
they were all AFC teams. So
that's right.
That even makes it better when people talk about how the NFC West is like the best division and all like that. When the more dominant teams come out the AFC. So
That's right. That's right.
that's a neat trivia.
Yeah. So coming out of the break, though, we want to talk about Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham because Landry, as we know, last week tore his MCL or has a sprained MCL in his knee and is going to be sidelined for at least the next 3 weeks because he has been placed on injured reserve. That's the league rule. And I want to hear what Baker Mayfield had to say about that. This was post-game against the Texans, talking about the team needing that next man up mentality. So take a listen. And when he referred to D. Felt, he was referring to Demetric Felton, who scored a touchdown early in the game. So the question here is, without Jarvis Landry and 50-50 on Odell Beckham Jr., because Kevin Stefanski earlier today said this. Yeah, so we don't know yet the situation because last week Kevin Stefanski ruled him out on Wednesday. So let's just say Odell does not play. Who needs to step up for the Browns?
The person who has the most chemistry with Baker Mayfield who hasn't been getting the ball, Hollywood Higgins. I mean, he's taken, in my opinion, 2 pay cuts to come back to this team because he loves being on the Browns. So I mean, it's time for him to, step up and get that, get that recognition as the person that, we call Hollywood, the one that a lot of fans love, and the one who hasn't really been doing anything these past few weeks. So I definitely think he's number 1. Behind him, I would say it's a split between 2 people, Demetric Felton and Kareem Hunt. Why? Because you could throw both of them in the slot as well, and they could possibly take away some duties that Jarvis do. Now they're not Jarvis. You're not gonna, like I said yesterday, you're not gonna have them coming out of the backfield doing trick plays, throwing touchdowns to Odell or whomever. But I think Hollywood got the best chemistry with Baker, and I think Demetric Felton and Kareem Hunt both are like Swiss Army knives. You can use them in the backfield as well as you can use them as receivers. But you also can't forget the DPJ. A guy who was highly regarded coming out of training. I mean, somebody who took that next leap in training camp. I mean, last week he had a fumble, but that shouldn't be the end all be all, of 2021 for him. I think next year you're gonna lose Jarvis or Odell. Right now, this is the perfect time to see who's going to be that guy to step up if you lose either or? If you lose Odell, who's going to be that guy to step up on the outside and be that burner? If you lose Jarvis, who's going to be that guy that lines up in the slot and does a lot of damage outside? So this gives the Browns a good look on who's going to be that number 1, number 2, number 3, or possibly do they need to go out next year and either draft or sign another receiver if these guys can't step up?
Yeah, all fair points. What do you think, Willie? Who needs to step up for the Browns on Sunday?
I think the offensive line needs excuse me. I think the offensive line needs to step up. They need to step up because Cleveland has the best duo running backs in almost in the country, in the league. So they need to step up and they need to do what they do. They need to run the ball. They need to run the ball some more, and they need to run the ball a little bit more after that. That way, that sets up Baker's most, I think, prized asset, which is play action pass. He's very accurate, as we know. And when you have those guys running the ball, either whether it's going to be Hunt or whether it's going to be Chubb or whether it's going to be Felton or whether it's going to be Kevin Bynum or whoever, they need to run the ball. So the offensive line needs to step up and really punish the undersized defensive front for the Chicago Bears.
Let me add one thing to what you say.
Go for it.
It's going to be hard for them to run against the number 4 rush defense. Chicago has a number 4 rush defense. They only allow 71 yards a game.
And and one of those games was against the Rams too.
Yeah, the Rams don't have a really good rushing attack, but I agree with what Willie said. The offensive line definitely is going to need to step up because if we can't run the ball, you're going to have to dink and dunk to those tight ends. You're going to have to dink and dunk to your receivers, dink and dunk to Chubb, Hunt, and Demetri Felton. So now that he explained that, I kind of agree with him that the offensive line through injury or not, you're going to have to. We're going to need to see that number 1 offensive line that everybody says the Browns have this week.
No, all great points. Last year, that's right. You referred to it. The number 1 offensive line was the Cleveland Browns. And one thing that kind of scared me going into this season, not because of what any of them did, but just the injury regression. Because last year, the 5 offensive linemen between 16 games, that's 80 games, there were a combined 7 games missed. So that means the line was intact over 90% of the year. Look at the Los Angeles Rams when they got to the Super Bowl. The following year, their line fell apart and they missed playoffs. Last year, the 49ers fell apart, went 6-10 after going 13-3 the year before, just because of all the injuries, and they've already had it now. Now, with the 49ers, it's been more so all around injuries. So coming into this year, I was just scared to death. Hopefully, please do not let the injury bug happen, just like it's happened to the Cleveland baseball team. That's just one factor that stats analytics just cannot account for. So this game, though, reminds me of that game last year against the New York Jets, because, of course, last minute we found out pretty much the whole wide receiver room had to quarantine. So it was pretty much Baker just having to dump off to Austin Hooper, Njoku, Kareem Hunt. And the Jets weren't fooled by that. So they were just able to clamp down on the running game. And even with a healthy Jarvis, even with Anthony Schwartz making big plays against the Chiefs, no wide receiver in the first 2 games has been targeted more than 2 times. That is going to have to change. They're going to have to get some big plays from Anthony Schwartz. I believe that's my guy. They took him in the 3rd round of the draft specifically to be that fly guy. I mean, I'm sure he can run some, underneath routes as well, but we're going to need some big explosive plays just to mix up the playbook. And it's, otherwise, if the Browns just become too predictable and the Bears are able to just stop the play action every time, then this game could be more of a grind than what the odds makers are saying. Browns are 7-point favorites. Now, for what it's worth, they were also 7-point favorites in that Jets game and lost. So I'm a little concerned about that. Again, shades of the Jets game, shades of, the Browns don't have too much on Justin Fields either. He only played a handful of snaps in that first Rams game. And then last week, what do you make of his first extended action in the regular season? So I'm little concerned, but about who's going to step up. My vote is Anthony Schwartz, but definitely him. Donovan Peoples-Jones needs to step up. The offensive line needs to stay healthy and be able to block Khalil Mack because he's a disruptor just like Aaron Donald. But I do believe that the Browns will be able to. Kevin Stefanski is smart coach, and obviously, and he'll have a game plan. He'll have more time to prepare for this game. But before we go into the next break, I want to do the next trivia question, and this is something we're going to do this break and the following break as well, as we talk about the Cleveland baseball team or the Cleveland Guardians, however you want to refer to them, because we mentioned that they've had a lot of injuries this year, and they are almost on the brink of elimination. At 74 and 76, the Cleveland baseball team could potentially finish at or below 500. But when was the last time this actually happened? Stay tuned for that after the break. Like I said, if you haven't downloaded the app yet, go to your iPhone settings, download the WOVU app, tell your friends, tell your family. Also stream us online at WOVU.org. We will be right back. If you think you have that answer, let us know at 216-271-0959. We'll see you in a minute.
The Gospel Travelers celebrate.
Yeah, what do you think, Willie?
I need you to repeat that.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I left it muted. So at 74 and 76, the Cleveland baseball team could finish below 500. When was the last time this happened?
Well, I know they won the division, I want to say like 3 years in a row. And even when they didn't win the division, they still went to the playoffs 2 times. So that's what, 5 seasons. I'll go back to 2014.
2014, you are close. Marshawn, you got it. It's 2012. The Cleveland baseball team went 68-94 in 2012. In 2015, actually, before they went to the World Series, they went 81-80. They didn't play game 162 because there was no need to. It was meaningless to reschedule the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, really close on that. But let's talk about them. So last night, Cleveland defeated the Kansas City Royals 4-1 behind a quality start by Carl Quantrill. Went 6 2/3 innings, allowed the only run, and struck out 6 hitters. He has a 1.73 ERA since the All-Star break. And our question is, has he solidified his spot in next year's 5-man rotation? Or do you think that Cleveland should utilize a 6-man rotation? Who wants to start?
I think Kyle Quantrill solidified his spot. He's had a strong August, a strong September, and it hasn't been, in my opinion, outside of maybe Tristan McKenzie and probably Tristan McKenzie, there hasn't really been another pitcher that's been consistent like Kyle Quantrill been the last few months. Do I think that Cleveland should utilize it? I think any team should utilize a 6-man rotation if it's going to keep your pitchers fresh, keep your pitchers healthy, especially if we're not paying these guys kibbles and bits. So, of course, if you're paying these guys like Trevor Bauer money, $34 million, get your money's worth.
That's right.
I definitely believe in having a 5-man rotation there, but our highest paid pitcher, I want to say, is probably $13 million. Yes,
I'd have to. I'll admit, I'd have to look it up, but yeah, the payroll is among the lowest in the league. So, Willie, questions for you. What do you think that Kyle Quantrill has solidified his spot as the 5th starter, or do you think that Cleveland should just go to a 6-man rotation?
Now, I think he solidified that position for himself. Excuse me. When you have Savali and when you have Bieber and when you have Sticks, and of course you have what's the kid's name that got in trouble with in spring training with the oh my gosh. Anyway, please say. So when you look at it from that standpoint, I think he solidified himself as one of the top 5 pitchers. And like Marshawn said, going to a 6-man rotation. I mean, I'm a bit of a traditionalist, so I like the pitchers going out every 5th game or every 5th day. I understand from a standpoint of injuries, which they've had so many this year, in particular in that rotation. I think that for what they've gotten or what they've seen from Quantrill in the second half of the year has given them confidence in knowing that he could be one of those guys that go out every 5th day next year.
That's right. And for that reason, I would just stick with the 5-man rotation because, particularly baseball players, and I was a baseball player in high school. I also play co-ed softball now for the past couple of years, but we are creatures of habit and we need our routine. Me too. I'm a Taurus. I need my routine. So just wanted to put that in there. But because Willie, like you, I am a traditionalist. And when pitchers, it drives pitchers crazy when it's supposed to be their start and it's a rain out, or they go 1 inning, 2 innings, and then they have to call a delay because there's inclement weather. And as a result, a lot of times you'll see teams just throw in a reliever and tell them, well, we'll give you tomorrow, but or you'll have to wait 5 more days. Routine is so important to baseball players. Now, I will say, in defense of the 6-man rotation, the Tampa Bay Rays actually implemented this, and for the past couple of years, and it got them to a World Series. Now, their quoting 6-man rotation was really like a type of bullpen day where a couple of pitchers would go 1 inning, 2 innings, and then that way everybody got a little more rest. So then again, that was less stress on their arms, so pitchers were more fresh going late into the season. I don't think that's the reason they lost the World Series last year, probably because they pulled Blake Snell after he gave up a base hit in only a second. But I digress. I would still go to a 5-man rotation. But it didn't help this year for the Guardians that every single starter at some point missed the season, and they may be able to benefit, at least this year, from being able to have those bullpen games to rest Shane Bieber, rest Aaron Civale, Zach Plesac, who have all been on the injured list at some point this year, which is just, again, there's always that one team that gets bit, and Cleveland was just that team this year. So Quantrill, less sub-2 ERA second half of the season. It's not always about how you start, it's about how you finish. And, I agree. Now, talking about the fact that they're probably going to miss the postseason, their elimination number is 2, which means if there's a combination of Cleveland losses or Toronto Blue Jays wins in the wild card or White Sox wins in the division, that would eliminate Cleveland from the playoff race. So we can make this short. What does missing the postseason mean for Cleveland going forward?
You got to get healthy. You got to figure out exactly who fits on your 40-man team that's already here. What holes do you have? And go out next year. Apparently, we have another owner that's supposed to come in, like a minority owner that's supposed to spend some money. I have to do a little bit more research on who this guy is. But if that's the case and he's willing to invest in the team, go out and spend some money. I'm all for the MLB having a minimum $100 million salary cap. I'm all for it. I feel like
the NFL does to that point.
The NBA. I mean MLB.
No. I'm saying to your point.
Yeah.
The National Football League, you have to spend a minimum amount of money. I'm not sure actually, but there is a minimum, so teams just don't tank on purpose.
I think teams like I remember back before the Astros became back relevant. It's not too long ago, but they were tanking. You got the Marlins is tanking. The Tampa Bay Rays tanked for a little bit. Pittsburgh is tanking. I feel like teams need to spend, $100 million to keep your players, keep these players happy, pay them well, and go from there. So I think baseball team isn't far off. You just got to get better players, better hitters, and let's try this thing again next year when we're healthy.
Yeah, Willie.
Yeah, I agree. I think the once the injury bug leaves the city of Cleveland and the region of Northeast Ohio as a whole,
we'll see.
Yeah, once that happens, you're going to be looking at a team that has a top 3 rotation in the American League. And I know that was supposed to be the strength this year, but then you also had other injuries as well to the outfield and everywhere else. And then getting rid of Edwin Rosario was a little bit of history to me. Only thing he did was go out and hit for the cycle. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think that was last week he did that. But I think the Cleveland baseball team is in a really good place, really, with the pitching staff. And what's going to happen with J-Ram, don't know. I don't know what his contract situation is like. I don't know how much he's making. I don't know when it's up. But that is one person that they need to really focus on and getting re-signed.
I would sign him to a $200 million contract yesterday. He's only making like a little bit over $9 million. That's a slap in the face for a guy who was an MVP finalist 2 years in a row.
Yep.
And could possibly be an MVP finalist this year based on what he's done. So they need to double up on J-Rod. He needs to be making at least 18 minimum, 20 to 25 minimum, in my opinion, to be the leader of this Cleveland Guardian team.
That's right. Maybe it's just a dark cloud that hovered over the franchise while they're under the current name. I don't know what it was, but
sound familiar, Willie?
It very well could be. But I heard you guys talking about that yesterday too. The offense definitely goes as Jose Ramirez goes. When he struggles, like 2 years ago, 2019, when he was in that slump, the team the offense just tanked. It must have been bottom 5 in the league. It was that bad. It was a little hard to watch at times. Yeah. So I want to get into Ben Simmons because it was confirmed today in the National Basketball Association that Ben Simmons, star for the Philadelphia 76ers, has told the team that he does not plan to report to camp and that he wants out and he never wants to play for the team again. And of course, there's trade rumors with that. Like, where will he go? Golden State, Portland, Lakers, Miami Heat. But what about the Cavs? You think there's a lot of times with these trades, there's always that one team that just emerges late. Do you guys think there's any chance that the Cavs could end up with Ben Simmons?
Absolutely. That would be a robbery on the Cavs again if they able to pull off a trade and it comes at the expense of Kevin Love. I don't think Philly is dumb enough to fall into the trap of taking, let's say, a Colin Sexton and a Kevin Love off the Cavs for Ben Simmons. I think Ben Simmons is better than a lot of people are saying. I think Ben Simmons, if you put Ben Simmons on a team based around shooters and possibly a stretch big man, I think you'll see a different Ben Simmons. I've always been one of those that said Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. It's like, remember growing up, Mom always used to say, don't mix bleach and ammonia. That's Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. You got a big man who wants to shoot like a guard, and Joel Embiid never wants to attack around the rim until last season. And then you got Ben Simmons, who feels like he doesn't really necessarily need to shoot. He's 6'11". You don't have to stop him around the rim. So if the Cavs are able to get him, and if they could get him and keep Colin Sexton, I think that would be a good 1-2 punch. But I just don't think Philly would be interested in taking Darius Garland. And the Cavs just they're in a whirlwind of trouble. I could be here the rest of the show.
It's just bad. It would definitely be a complex trade. What do you think? Well, any chance that the Cavs would wind up with him?
There's a chance, but I don't think it would be a good fit. I don't understand why so many people in the media are calling Ben Simmons a star. He's not a star. He's a great defender, and he's a great passer.
Yes,
he those things. A person that cannot shoot outside of the half circle cannot be determined or cannot be deemed as a star. A person that cannot shoot free throws cannot be deemed as a star. A player that's not in the game when the game is on the line, dude, you are not a star.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think I think all of this could be resolved. Ben Simmons could shoot better free throws. I don't necessarily think Ben Simmons has to be just a knockout jump shooter from the mid-range. He's 6'11". He can do everything outside shooting. Like Willie said, he can pass. He can defend. He can defend all positions 1 through 5. I mean, I've always heard from the best basketball coaches, if you can pass, dribble, defend, and make down a couple of your free throws, and you got a job in the basketball world. I mean,
that's what it's all about, because late game teams are going to do hack a Shaq, Duncan,
listen,
you name it.
I seen Dwight Howard get his free throw better.
Yes.
Better. So I got faith in Ben Simmons. He just needs to continuously work on it. Let's talking. Are we posting your pictures with? I don't know if you're still dating the Jenner.
The Kylie Jenner or Kendall, one of them.
Don't even post no video you working on the gym. Don't in preseason shoot a 3-pointer and get the fans riled up, and then never shoot a 3-pointer again in the season. Just continue to just work, be quiet, and let everything work itself out. I don't think he's going anywhere right now because it's too late. Training camp starts next week.
That's right.
This is at the point where teams feel like, the Cavs feel like they got a championship team right now. I guarantee every team in the NBA right now feels like they got a championship team until about November.
They don't.
Yeah, it's the burning image for me before we go to break is him in Game 7, seconds left, passing up a layup right under the rim to pass the ball, not wanting to be in it. It would be a complex trade I mentioned because it would be unclear with his contract. He has 4 years left, about 170, 200 million, really expensive. But then Cavs had to deal with Kevin Love's 2 years, $60 million contract left. And when we see contracts like that have to move, usually the team trading will have to give up a first-round pick just to incentivize a team to take him. See Russell Westbrook with the Thunder to the Rockets. See John Wall going from the Wizards to the Rockets again. So we're going to go to our final break with the last trivia question because we are going to next talk about Ohio State. and give our predictions for that and give our predictions for the Browns. But the trivia is this. Since the college football playoff was implemented, 4 teams have reached it without winning their conference. Name them. We'll be right back with the answer.
Man, that's a tough.
I know. I mean, that's easy.
We are back live, WOVU 95.9 FM. Trey Modlin in, filling in for Rachel Hill. We have Marshawn Powers in studio and Willie Epteen on StreamYard. So let's tackle the trivia before we get into our last segment. Since the college football playoff was implemented, 4 teams have reached it without winning their conference. Name them.
I know off the top of my head, Ohio State was the first team to do it.
Yep, 2016, that's one.
Alabama did it.
Georgia.
Notre Dame, they did it twice because they don't have a conference.
Ding, 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 ding. Yep. So I'll give the exact year. So Ohio State in 2016 got in that was the year Penn State beat them. Penn State beats Wisconsin in the Big Ten title game, but Ohio State was, quote, unequivocally better, so they still got into the college playoff. 2017, Alabama got in over Ohio State. And then Notre Dame did it in 2018 and 2020. Those 4 teams got into the college football playoff without winning their conference.
Yeah, they don't even have a conference. That shouldn't even count.
That's not fair.
Yeah, well, it's definitely last year was different because they're strictly an independent, but with COVID protocols, pretty much all the major conferences went to conference-only games, so they temporarily joined the ACC. They beat Clemson earlier last year. That was a game Trevor Lawrence couldn't play because he got COVID. Notre Dame plays Clemson again in the ACC title game. Didn't matter because they both got in. And I'm not a believer that you should be crushed for you should be eliminated because solely you lose in the title game of your conference, because otherwise why go? But it's also wanted to be fair to the teams that actually did compete in their respective conference title games. So it's a tough situation sometimes, but that is where we are. So on our last segment, we are going to get into Ohio State. They're going to play the Akron Zips this Saturday, 7:30 at the Horseshoe, where they've also been the last 2 weeks. Now, the Buckeyes here are 49-point favorites. That's pretty big. That's a 7-touchdown, 7 PAT spread. But there's a little bit of concern because they are 0-3 against the spread this year, meaning despite the fact that they've been 14.5-point favorites, they have failed to cover. One game that they didn't cover in Minnesota. The other game, they straight up lost to Oregon. And then last week, they were 24-point favorites to Tulsa. They won by 21, but didn't cover the spread. So what's up with all these close games with the Buckeyes?
Yeah, they're not as good as people thought they were.
Yeah, they have statistically right now, Ohio State has the second worst defense in the Big Ten.
Isn't that telling?
The second worst, and at all levels. Like you can click on rush defense, pass defense, point to turnover differential. They're at the bottom of everything. So I think this is a game where I expect them to cover the spread because, I mean, we all can agree on one thing, and that's Akron is pretty terrible, you know. So if it's a close game, I'm going to be more alarmed than I've ever been.
Oh, definitely.
This is almost like playing an FBS team. You should never be close with a team like Akron.
Yeah. Yeah, get in there, Willie.
Yeah, ask Florida State about that. About FCS team.
Jacksonville State.
That's another Indian team. They got that black cloud over them. That changing name.
Well, Florida State, I will say it's a little different there because the tribe there, I can't think of the name, but they actually like that. They say, like, please use our Seminoles. They actually consider it an honor down there. Different story, but that's probably the one exception. Them in the Chicago. We made a pledge not to do this on air, so I'm not going to say there. You can look up the National Hockey League Chicago team, but that's a little bit of an exception as well. Go ahead, Will.
Chicago hockey team.
Yeah.
I just don't believe that because, like, that game against Oregon, that is a game that you would expect for the Buckeyes to win. A big non-conference early heavyweight match between them and a Pac-12 team. They normally dominate in that fashion, and to have them to even lose, and they got beat up pretty bad too against Oregon. Even though Oregon is not the typical spread offense that's out there. I mean, they are a power spread running team, and they've really been that way, with the exception probably of when last year or 2 years ago with Herbert, but. Even going back to the days of Dennis Dixon and Marcus Mariota, those dudes, man, they could run the ball. So I don't think Ohio State is nearly as good as people think they are. And I said this, I don't know, may have been last week, maybe a couple weeks ago. This is the year that Michigan's going to get them.
Very well could be. Michigan's beat them twice in the past. It's been twice in the past 20 years or so, but this is definitely one that that they could be had because they have lost. Ohio State lost P. Warner, Baron Browning, Tommy Togiai to the draft last year. Before that, Chase Young, Jeff Okudah, and Damon Arnett. So they've had some losses and they have to gel, just like the Browns. But want to make sure we have enough time to get into our game predictions. So Ohio State is, like I said, 49-point favorites against the Akron Zips. Do you guys believe that the Buckeyes will cover the spread? And we'll make this rapid fire. Absolutely more than 49. What do you think, Willie?
No, give me the points.
Wow. So Akron. Well, yeah, and last week they didn't cover against Tulsa either. So one of those teams that you're supposed to dominate. The over-under for this game is set at 67.5 points. Will that total go over or under between the two teams?
I'm gonna say
okay.
Under.
I like the under as well. I think it'll be because Ohio State scores about the finals. Well, we'll get that there in a second. CJ Stroud has averaged 321 passing yards per game this season. Will he have over or under 321?
He's got a shoulder injury on his throwing shoulder. I'll say
under. What do you think, Willie?
I'm going to say under as well because it's going to be they are going to blow him out. They're not going to cover the script, but they are going to blow him out. And then with him being injured, they're going to sit him down.
Yeah, and they could lean more on their running backs as well. And if it gets ugly quickly, who knows? He may even get switched out of the game in the second half. So I'm with you on the under. Over under 76,540 fans in attendance.
Nobody wants to see Ohio Stadium. I think everybody's gonna be at the bar doing Saturday happy hour, so I'm gonna take that.
Okay.
I'll say under. I don't think I think the fans know that this team is not what they think it or what they're used to.
I will be optimistic because it costs the same to be optimistic as it does to be pessimistic. So I'm going to say the over. There'll be about 85,000 fans there. It's just how many people are there. It doesn't necessarily reflect how long they have to stay. And then finally, what are your scores?
I'm going to say 55-0 Ohio State.
Okay. So you would have them cover the spread.
Yeah, I said they're going to cover.
Okay, yeah.
I'll say 51-10.
51-10. You do not have them covering the spread. I'll say 60-7. So they cover the spread and they hit just under the 67.5 points. Moving on to the Browns. The Browns are 7.5 point favorites against the Bears. Will they cover the spread this Sunday?
No.
They're going to lose the game.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You have the Bears winning the game.
I've got the Bears in an upset.
Bold. We're going on about 40 seconds left. So will the Browns leading receiver have over or under 2.5 receptions?
Over.
I will say under. It will be Kareem Hunt or Austin Hooper with a lot of short passes. And finally, you said Bears. Give a score.
Bears 28, Browns 26.
I'm going to go Browns 21, Bears 17.
Browns 21, Bears 17. My final score is going to be 23. Browns 23, Bears 19. Those are my final score predictions. Well, hey, Willie, Marshawn, I want to thank you guys for joining me today, letting me fill in. It was great. It was a lot of fun. Got a lot of content in. Looking forward to the weekend. And I'm really excited about what the Buckeyes are going to do, what the Browns are going to do. So I'm Trey Modlin. I've been in here with Willie Epteen Jr. and Marshawn Powers in studio. We will see you guys next week. Rachel will be back on Monday. Drive safe, everybody, and have a great rest of your week, guys. Take care.